Mystery. Talib said, "People who know nothing or know very little and should be studying instead of teaching are fond of creating an air of mystery. They may foster rumours about themselves and pretend that they do things for some secret reason. They always strive to increase the sense of mystery. But this is mystery for itself, not as the outer manifestation of inner knowledge. The people who really know the inner secrets generally look and behave like ordinary people. So the ones who increase the air of mystery may be like the spider's web. They only catch flies. Are you, like the fly, a spider's dinner?" Merchant of Secrets. A mystical master, as soon as he had attained the secret knowledge of the inner truth which few people find, settled in Basra. There he started a business, and over the years his affairs prospered. A dervish who had known him in former years and yet was himself still on the road of the seekers called upon him one day. "How sad to see that you have abandoned the search in the mystic way," said the dervish. The merchant sage smiled, but said nothing on this subject. The dervish passed on his way, and often afterwards spoke in his lectures of the one-time Sufi who had settled for the lower aim of commerce, being, it seemed, lacking in the necessary resolution to complete the journey. But this wanderer at length fell in with Khidr, the secret guide, and begged him to direct him to the sage of the epoch from whom he could obtain enlightenment. Khidr said, "Go and sit at the feet of such and such a merchant, performing whatever menial task he needs done." The dervish was amazed. "But how can he be one of the elect, let alone the great teacher of the age?" he stammered. "Because," said Khidr, "when he gained illumination, he also achieved objective knowledge of the world. He saw clearly for the first time that saintly behavior attracts the greedy posing as the spiritual, and repels the sincere who have no taste for outwardness. I showed him how religious teachers may be drowned by their followers, so he teaches in secret, and looks, to the superficial, like a mere merchant." Distant projection. It is related that a merchant once made a journey of 6 months' duration from Africa to study with Jalaluddin Rumi. He took a room at the Sarai in Konya and sent his servant to announce his arrival and waited for the summons of the Maulana. Before the servant had arrived at Rumi's house, however, a dervish who was serving in Sarai's kitchen said to the merchant, "Why are you here?" "I am here," said the merchant, "to glimpse the blessed countenance of our master Jalaluddin of Balkh." "And how much has it cost you to come this long distance, friend?" "Over 1,000 gold pieces." "How remarkable," said the dervish, "for yesterday night at the Maulana's meeting I heard him say something which could apply to you." The merchant was excited and asked, "Oh, please tell me at once, omitting no detail." "What he said," the dervish told him, "was this: if I only had 1,000 gold pieces, such as some people throw away for the vanity of a journey, to give to the deserving, I would be able to spare the effort to send mystical projection to a certain merchant of Africa who needs it. But I am wholly occupied in the affairs of the welfare of the needy. Even if that merchant were to come here, he would be unable to receive the barakah, sanctity. But if he did, he would no doubt be satisfied with the self-esteem, the pride at the journey and the sacrifices, and he would think that that was spiritual progress." Imam Baqir. Imam Muhammad Baqir is said to have related this illustrative fable. "Finding I could speak the language of ants, I approached one and inquired, "What is God like? Does he resemble the ant?" He answered, "God? No, indeed. We have only a single sting, but God, he has two." Ajnabi. The Sufi master Ajnabi said, "Write to Mullah Firoz and tell him that I have no time to engage him in correspondence, and therefore have nothing to say to his letter." The disciple Amini said, "Is it your intention to annoy him with this letter?" Ajnabi said, "He has been annoyed by some of my writings. This annoyance has caused him to write to me. My purpose in writing the passage which angers him was to anger such as he." Amini said, "And this letter will anger him further?" Ajnabi said, "Yes. When he was enraged at what I wrote, he did not observe his own anger, which was my intention. He thought that he was observing me, whereas he was only feeling angry. Now I write again to arouse anger, so that he will see that he is angry. The objective is for the man to realize that my work is a mirror in which he sees himself." Amini said, "The people of the ordinary world always regard those who cause anger as ill-intentioned." Ajnabi said, "The child may regard the adult who tries to remove a thorn from his hand as ill-intentioned. Is that a justification for trying to prevent the child from growing up?" Amini said, "And if the child harbours a grudge against the adult who removes the thorn?" Ajnabi said, "The child does not really harbour that grudge, because something in him knows the truth." Amini asked him, "But what happens if he never gets to know himself, and yet continues to imagine that others are motivated by personal feelings?" Ajnabi said, "If he never gets to know himself, it makes no difference as to what he thinks of other people, because he can never have any appreciation of what other people are really like." Amini asked, "Is it not possible, instead of arousing anger a second time, to explain that the original writing was composed for this purpose, and to invite the mullah to review his previous feelings?" Ajnabi said, "It is possible to do this, but it will have no effect. Rather, it will have an adverse effect. If you tell the man your reason, he will imagine that you are excusing yourself, and this will arouse in him sentiments which are harmful only to him. Thus, by explaining, you are actually acting to his detriment." Amini said, "Are there no exceptions to this rule, that man must learn through realizing his own state, and that his state cannot be explained to him?" Ajnabi said, "There are exceptions. But if there were enough exceptions to make any difference to the world, we would not by now have any Mullah Firozes left." Rahimi. In a private debate, the scholar Saleh Awami said to Sufi Rahimi, "What you have just said lacks references and proofs through quotations from ancient authority." "Not at all," said Rahimi, "for I have them all here, chapter and verse." The scholar went away, saying, "That was what I wanted to know." The next day he made his famous speech on Rahimi, which began, "The lecture which you are about to hear from Sheikh Rahimi lacks conviction. Why, he is so unsure of himself that he has actually adduced written proofs and authorities to what he says." Reading. Nawab Jan Fishan Khan was asked, why did his teacher not allow Rumi to study his father's own works? Surely nothing but good can come of the study of something good. Jan Fishan said, there were two reasons. First, that for every person there is an interpretation. If he is likely to make his own interpretation, he may follow the wrong track. As an example, If you have a child read a law book, he will misinterpret the parts of the law which deal with matters which he has not yet reached in his experience. Secondly, books of higher learning are written in order to correspond with the needs of the time, place, and people by whom they have to be read. If, for instance, you read Chinese books on dyeing, you may become a Chinese dyer, though there may be no demand for the style of dyeing done in China. Similarly, if the people of a certain place have reached a stage beyond that which is, in part, represented by earlier books, to make them concentrate upon these parts will hold them back. You should be thoroughly familiar with the recommended works. The meaning of them, however, requires a guide. Haji Bektash Wali. Asked the question, "Why do all the paths differ?" Bektash said, "Shoot an arrow at a target. To do this, you must have an arrow and a target and a man to shoot. These are the elements which make up the action. They are called a school. But if the aim is to strike one object with another, there are 1,000 ways of doing it. Only the shallow will think that arrow shooting is the only way of hitting one thing with another. This is the inner way." He continued, "All you have to do is to realize this." "But," his inquirer persisted, "how are we to know what is the way for us?" "The people who pretend that you will know the most suitable method for yourself are the ones who pretend that what you like is what you need. Man probably does not know the way for himself. He needs someone to arrange the circumstances, such as finding two surfaces and aligning them so that they collide, in the analogy of the arrow and the target." The Book of Nonsense. Sheikh Abu Ali of Yemen spoke one day of nonsensical books being attractive because they were nonsense. "There are many such books," he said. A student wondered whether it were possible to have a demonstration of such an effect. Reading his thoughts, although not a word had been spoken, the sheikh wrote a mysterious book of symbols which he showed to this youth and then sent to China. 3 years later, Indians began to appear with the ancient Chinese Book of Truth, claiming that it had worked miracles and would answer their questions. Abu Ali would never discuss this marvelous book with them. One day, one of his disciples wondered what the effect of the book would be, other than as a demonstration of Abu Ali's immediate circle. Again, the sheikh answered the unuttered thought. "The ancient Chinese Book of Truth," he said, "in reality gives all who are confronted with it a chance to exercise an inner discrimination. They are given an opportunity, through confrontation, to assess inwardly whether or not this thing is a toy. Its great value for real seekers is that they can see that the people who are interested in this book are people whom we can avoid, for they would waste our time and misinterpret our work." Shakir Amali. People seek teachers and teaching in order to find something that they do not know already. In reality, however, teachers and teachings exist to help people to apply and practice, not to amuse or give experience that must be new. Since men in general do not know this, it is not surprising that they do not know what they have found and try to find what is of no use to them. It is also possible that things which seem new to people are the last things that they need for the purpose of improving them. You will know the seeker of sensations because he is attracted by the new or mysterious. You will know the real student because he seeks whatever there is to be found.